We are going to talk about a movie.
This is gonna be a disaster.
It was one of the best movies of the year.
It's gonna go so well. Probably one of the last movies I would ever want to see in a theater.
Of a city as a homeless person. Live in the wilderness.
The one that I saw a while ago was someone come up to you and said, you can go back 2 years ago today, 2 years ago with all your memories as you are right now. The only cost is 2 years from your life. But you don't know, obviously you don't know where the end, you don't know where the end of your life is.
Yeah.
So it'll be 2 years, so you have a fixed date that you're dying, it'll be 2 years before that.
Well, I'd be okay with that. 2 years is a long time.
I'd do that.
Yeah, I'd do it.
Knowing what I'd definitely be like, alright, work's gonna fuck me over, so, and I'll be like, COVID's gonna happen, so get in stocks to Zoom.
Oh yeah.
Stocks and Zune, Zune. You know Zune, that music app, the music player that we can all still use.
I use it when I'm not using
hand sanitizer.
When I'm not using real player.
No, when I'm using my iPod.
And I like watching my trailers on QuickTime.
Oh, QuickTime.
If I had, honestly, if I could have put $1,000 back in 2016 on Cubs winning the World Series,
Yeah.
Patriots coming back and winning that, and winning that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Parasite winning best film, like as soon as it was released, like
Yeah.
like Parasite's
But
winning
3
best
years
film.
later. He's like, I predicted 3 years.
Yeah. This movie hasn't been made. It will be.
And I will take
Sharks finally winning the NRL. Melbourne winning the Bulldogs winning the AFL, and Trump winning the presidency. If you put money on all that, you would have won like 10-15 million bucks, even off $1,000. Easy.
Can you imagine being like, what are you betting on? Trump becoming president? And they're like, you sure you want to do that? Yes.
Sadly. Because there's two options. I win a shit ton of money, or I lose that money and he doesn't end up becoming president. So I
it's a
win
win-win.
either way.
It's actually, that's true when you look at it. I like throwing away my money.
Oh, God.
Except I didn't.
Oh, guys.
Yes.
All right, so how long do we have to do this?
I think about half an hour. So,
Oh, wait, are you just getting this done before the footy kicks off?
hopefully.
Is that the plan?
Hopefully.
That is the plan.
Fair.
That is. All right. Ready?
Oh.
Is everything recorded? Now I'm yawning.
That is. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, guys, and welcome to a bonus episode of 10 Years On. I am your host, Jacob Blunden, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Taylor Robinson. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
We've made it halfway through the year.
We have. This is actually like so impressive. I'm shocked
you
that
know
we
what?
actually did this.
With the way that the first half of this year has gone outside of movies, I'm very impressed that we've made it this far.
I'm actually genuinely shocked that we're at this point in the year where we've actually watched all of these movies. We cancelled on one. So there was one movie that we were going to include that we cancelled on, and that was Wog Boy. But that was just because it was damn near impossible to find now without us all spending a fortune to actually own it. So we were like, nah.
That's the difference. Yeah.
It's Wog Boy too. The voices you guys are hearing is of our co-panelists, Nick and Peter. How are you?
Oh, hi.
Wow. Not just pretty voices, but just
really,
pretty
really,
voices.
Really, no. Please. I am fucking stone cold attractive right now.
Stone Cold Foxy Pete. Coming at you.
How great is it that we didn't get cancelled? This is awesome. We're still here.
That's also very, very good.
So happy the producers have kept us on.
Right?
As well.
I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it's touching.
If I was me, I would have fired me long ago.
Yeah,
Just for liking Cop Out.
Oh, Oh, yeah.
Look,
I
there's
mean,
no
the
one
real producers of this show, aka the audience, hasn't called for your dismissal yet. So,
True.
you know.
Yeah.
They're on the edge, though.
So far, it's been an interesting year. Very, very interesting year. I think Peter's.
I was gonna sneeze and it went away.
I think he's trying to hold it.
That'll be the whole episode is on edge. To be like,
It's coming.
But it's just going to come out when you least expect. It's going to scare the shit out of all of us.
That's the plan. COVID.
Cancelled.
So far, this has been a fairly interesting year in terms of like the movies we've gotten. A lot of the on a whole, have you done mostly rewatches, or are these first time watches for you guys?
Sorry. So yes, it feels great on the whole. It's probably been. I reckon it's going to be 50-50 in terms of rewatches and brand new ones, and all of the brand new ones were like, there's a reason that I didn't watch it the first time.
It's been mostly rewatches for me because this is when I started working at the video store, so I was just taking everything home.
And you have like terrible taste.
I have awful taste as well, and I have no filter as to tell me this movie could be awful. But in fairness, did discover one of my favorite movies so far this year, which I guess we'll talk about later. So
I know.
So I've probably seen maybe like a third of these movies, not a lot of them.
Yeah, you were smart.
Yeah, I had this thing where I only went and saw movies that I really thought looked good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
We have a choice.
So most of these are first time watches for me, and yeah, like the ones that I hadn't seen before, a big chunk of them, there was a good reason that past me chose not to see them. So it's gonna be interesting. What about you?
So I'm looking at my list, and before we started this year, my worst film was probably the Alice in Wonderland remake, and it's number 45 of 64. So that tells you
it's climbing. So yeah, you saw 18 films that were worse.
Right. For me, I was just like, wait, it's like the 45th best, but no, it's the
there's a lot of films below that I had never seen. So this year's been interesting to say the least for me.
Yeah.
I love interesting as like a description for things where you're just like, how is it?
Okay, so in all seriousness, like you're right in that this year has had this year is weird for me because there is a lot of crap, like a lot of crap in this year.
Ooh, yeah.
And more so than I think most of the other years that we will get to when we get to for the rest of the decade. I think on average this is probably one of the worst years we will do, but it has so many high points. Like there are even so far we're 6 months in, and we've got
it's like, I can't fucking do this. Like you can't just take 3 months away from us. Jesus.
And I've already got 2 5 out of 5 films. There are some, and there are definitely more coming from this year alone that I know. So this year has this weird dichotomy where there are terrible films and genuinely some of the worst films we're going to see all year, probably all decade.
All of our life.
Are in this year.
Yeah.
But then some of the best films we're going to see all decade are also in this year.
For sure.
So it's got this weird dichotomy and that weird relationship that I do have with this year. I've had quite a few surprises. A lot of my rewatches for quite a number of these films have been, that's improved, which I wasn't quite expecting. A number of films that I remember last time I went, I didn't really like that, and now it's come back and gone, no, I actually really liked that.
Yeah.
But then other ones that I used to really love have come and gone, it's not really aged very well. So It is interesting. Do we want to kick off with some of some of our favorites so far this year? Peter, I'll start with you.
Yes. So I'm going to, I would say MacGruber, just because of, like, it was always one that I had remembered to be quite funny, and then rewatching it, and then knowing that it was actually like fully accepted. I was like, yeah, I'm not alone. So good.
The rest of the podcast is us just trashing it, and you're sitting there like...
I was like, no, like... I was very...
I feel like you had a safety with me there because there was no chance was not liking
but it's
MacGruber.
there is that sense of like it does make you feel really good when you're like, I'm not alone in this.
Yeah.
The general consensus being good is also
for a movie that like no one's seen,
But
it doesn't.
Well, especially when you had, you two were privately messaging each other going, please tell me they'll like it. Please like it.
Oh my god. Because we were just like, they'll like it. Sure. Yeah. Like, yeah. I'm going to say the A-Team.
Yeah.
The A-Team would stand out for me.
Yeah. There's a lot of
I
fun.
don't think the action genre has been like, we've had a lot. So that's probably why that also stands out.
I think this year alone in just action in general doesn't really get much of a standout. I mean, we get Red towards the end of the year, and that's not a great movie. But like, the action genre really doesn't pick up again. I want to say until 2014 with Edge of Tomorrow and
did it!
Yeah. Like Edge of Tomorrow and then John Wick. Like those two back to back really
and then
reignited.
I suppose also because like the Marvel series doesn't
Starts to-
really
yeah,
like
true.
it's weird to be like Iron Man 2 not a standout.
No.
It's weird.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean Toy Story 3.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah.
Like it's I remember rewatching it. I was surprised that it wasn't as like funny as I remembered it, but that certainly didn't take away from the fact that it was like it's hilarious, but it's the emotional side of that is like whew.
Yeah.
And you're like, even as a man in his 30s, still not prepared for a lot of it. Like it just hits you so hard.
I think you summed it up perfectly on the episode where you're like, this is an incredible movie. I just can't rewatch it because it is such an emotionally devastating movie.
I can't call it my favorite Toy Story movie that I would put on because I can't do that to myself emotionally.
Yeah.
Because it would have been close to 10 years between me last seeing it. So, and it's like, but it's crazy how that, you're like, that end sequence, it sticks in your mind.
Yeah.
And then watch it and you're just like, I'm still not prepared. Like you forget that it's like they hold each other's hands and they all focus on it, and then Woody just was like, "This is it, you guys." And
I have learnt to get through that scene. I can get through that scene. It's so long, partner, that I lose it now. Like Andy saying goodbye to the toys, I lose it now. But I can get through the furnace scene because you're right. The furnace scene. Originally, when I in theaters, that's what got me more than Andy saying goodbye. I can get through the furnace
It's
scene
probably because
now.
by the time Andy says goodbye, you're just like, oh, it doesn't even matter what happens now.
Someone posted on Twitter the other day, like, what's the most emotional you've ever been in a movie? And I just replied with that gif of, like, Woody waving goodbye. Yeah. And everyone replied and was like, fuck you. I'm just crying looking at this gif.
Yeah. It's like Pixar just, they know how to...
Well, they've done it.
Just poke and prod that.
Yeah. It's actually, well, it is funny, like this decade with Pixar, they kind of lose their way a bit and then they get it back a bit later in the year, mostly because I think Disney animation itself kind of takes over. But Taylor, what would be 3 for you?
Are we skipping Nick?
I'm just going to try and go around like... Okay, Nick, what would be 3 for you?
No, I can. I just the way that you're doing it doesn't make sense to me, but I can do it if you want.
Okay, what would be 3 for you?
I guess I want to start with one that I hadn't seen before that has really stuck in my mind ever since we saw it, which was Daybreakers. It's definitely a smart little sci-fi kind of movie, supernatural elements that you're not really expecting. I think it's super well made. And it does feel like a smaller movie, but not in a bad way. Like it's almost comforting in a way because it's its own little world. They do the world building really well, and they know exactly what kind of movie they're making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one definitely sticks out for me and is one of the few new watches that I have enjoyed. So there's that. Gosh. And then we'll go with Get Him to the Greek.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the rewatches that I feel the exact same way about.
Yeah.
Rewatching it, I went, I still really, really enjoy this for what it is. It's funny about 90% of the time, like, which to me
is enough.
is pretty good for a comedy with how subjective comedy
for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
can be.
Yeah.
And I just really love it. I think that it's a good ensemble of a lot of great talented actors that just weren't quite what they are now. And as someone who just loves music, like I just think it's so cleverly done. And what is my last one gonna be, you guys? Oh my gosh. Let's go with Shutter Island, because I have an interesting kind of feeling about Shutter Island. I hadn't seen it before.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit hard to swallow in a first watch because it's pretty deliberately slow and you don't really know where it's going.
Have you rewatched it since?
No, I haven't rewatched it since.
Yeah.
I do want to.
Yeah,
we just haven't
freaking
freaking had any time. But I do want to rewatch it again because the more I kind of think about it, the more I'm like interested in what it was trying to say. And I think it's beautifully shot. It's one of the most beautiful movies.
That's what really surprised me upon rewatch. I was just like, this movie is so stunning to look at. There's something, imagery in it is just incredible.
But I do think it's, just from my personal experience, a movie that at first I just didn't know what to think. I didn't know if I really liked it. And then the more that I think about it, I'm like, I really want to rewatch it because I think as I'm digesting it slowly.
I think that's the other thing too, because you'll know where it's heading. You'll have more of a chance to sort of look at all the like instead, because when you're watching it and you're just like, oh, I know that I'm missing stuff, and then you know what's happening. You'll notice little things. You're like, okay, that's really clever. That's actually being like, that'll link me to the end and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
But I like those. I wouldn't say those are my favorites, but those are some that really stand out to me that we've watched.
Okay, Nick, where are you at?
I think there's definitely one that I sort of think focused on like friendships and relationships really, really well, and sort of that was like the centerpiece of the film was Sex and the City 2. And that movie was fucking shit. My first one.
You had me for
I
was like, what movie is he talking about?
I was going between two. I had two in my head that I'm like, there's two he's possibly talking about? Okay. No, didn't expect that.
No, I think...
Of course Nick would like that.
Of course I'd love that movie. But I think this one's going to be a very typical Nick sort of pick. And obviously I love obscure shit. And I think Exit Through the Gift Shop was one of my favorite
I knew you were going there.
I am just captivated by... as we said earlier, interesting people. So I was enamored by that movie.
I genuinely forgot about that.
and that's why that's why I think it's one of like a very typical me, because I think about that movie so much, and I still call people Bat Pappy all the time after that painting he does in the movie. And I don't know, he's just so interesting. I can't. But like I said when we spoke about it, it's like how I view The Room and things like that. Like I know they're not necessarily great productions, but I'm so much more interested in what's happening behind the scenes and that breakdown.
I'm kind of where you are. Like that's inside my. It's literally looking on the outside, looking into my top 10 so far of the year. Won't be anywhere near there at the end of the year, but it's a movie that I still think about. That I still actually think about the absolute insanity of it all, and also, but I also think back on our conversation, because I think that's the positive part of that. The biggest element of that movie that it needs is the conversation afterwards, where you can sit down with friends and talk about it.
Yeah,
and so I do like that choice.
And it sort of reminds me of, it's like a Tiger King vibe to me. It's like, I don't think Tiger King's a good documentary, but fuck me, it's insane and it's super entertaining. So, and that's how I feel about Exit Through the Gift Shop.
Yeah.
Another one I pick was The Crazies. That was a first time watch for me, and I really thought, considering it was a low budget film, I didn't even know it was a remake as well. And I'm a sucker for Timothy Olyphant, so I think there's a lot of that movie I really enjoyed. It stuck to its premise without trying to be too convoluted.
Yeah.
It had some decent creepy moments and creepy scares, had some good horror violence in there as well. And the ending, when you think it's going to be an alright ending, you sort of get that classic horror movie trope where it's like, no, it's not going to be, and it didn't annoy me, which is something that I think is when it's done well, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. I feel like I'm going to steal one of yours.
No, steal it because I've actually got 4 that I want to pick.
Okay,
So if you
I'm definitely stealing one of yours. I fucking love How to Train Your Dragon. I think that movie is amazing. So it's like a Pixar movie, not from Disney. Like it definitely goes to that emotional feel. The fact that they end it with the fact that our main character loses his leg is quite incredible. Like we hadn't really seen that done in a lot of mainstream animated films. It's hilarious. It's heartwarming. The animation's still beautiful 10 years later. And that's a 5 out of 5 movie for me. Easily.
Yeah, I still think How to Train Your Dragon is one of the best films DreamWorks have made.
Oh, for sure.
Easily one of their best films.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best films of the decade. Like this year has 2 for me, obviously from this decade, and that's the other one.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautifully animated, and the story of friendship and the story and the score alone is just incredible. The cinematography is gorgeous. Like I know not a lot of people really think about cinematography when it comes to animated films. That film is a perfect example of why cinematography in an animated film is so important because it is so well done and so well captured and just brings you into that world.
I always think about the tracking shot at the beginning when we're going through when you first see the dragon's rating and just how incredible they utilize shaky cam in an animated film. Like, and it's not something you would notice on a first time watch or if you're not looking for those things. But it's an action cinematography trope to have a bit of shaky cam, and they use it so well in a tracking. Fuck, that movie's amazing.
So 3 that I just want to mention. I've raved on about how great I think this movie is, and this was a rewatch for me that just elevated ever since I've watched it, and that was, of course, the Russell Crowe Robin Hood. I've raved about this. It is such a great film for me. Like, I think it is such a really original and captivating reimagination of Robin Hood and bringing you back into this world and really giving it this grounded reality that we have never seen from a Robin Hood film ever, or ever seen someone treating this material with this level of gravity. I think is the right it would be what I'm trying to say, is that they actually treat it like this is a real life human being, and I think we've never really seen that before, where it's not always just been this a little bit of, steals from the rich to give to the poor, very simplistic mindset. Whereas
can't all be Taron Egerton.
Whereas in here, they actually try to give it a bit of meaning and a bit of depth. Like the one scene of steals from the rich to give to the poor, he's stealing from the church, and it's not an easy thing. Like it's they actually give it some depth, and I really do like that. And a film that when I first saw it, I didn't really love it. I thought it was quite long, quite boring. Didn't give me the Robin Hood I was expecting, and 10 years later I'm kind of like, wow, I'm glad you didn't, because I think it's really elevated itself and I think I do think it was ahead of its time. I think if that movie is released 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it actually does a lot better, and we do actually get those sequels, but it is what it is. Another first time watch for me that has stuck with me in the week that we've seen it, and it's pretty recent, but is Winter's Bone. I think Winter's Bone is a harrowing film that has really, it hasn't left me thinking about just how grim and dark that film really is, but also that performance from Jennifer Lawrence and the absolute just star-making performance that she gives, and how she really does own the entire time that she's on screen, and you basically watch her and you go, oh, okay, I can exactly see where where your next decade comes from,
Yeah.
or your next 2 years.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, for sure.
within 2 years, she's one of the highest paid actresses in Hollywood and one of the biggest superstars in 2 years because of this one movie that gets her the opportunity to go on to do that.
Yeah.
Such a brilliant film, and I really want to watch Leave No Trace now
Yes.
after seeing that, and
For sure.
I really want to dive into her filmography, which sadly is only 2 films, but. And lastly, another one that I originally had seen, wasn't the biggest fan of, but has actually really grown on me just because I guess it's now 10 years later and it was very political at the time, and that's Green Zone.
True.
I think Green Zone is a fascinating movie because I don't think it gets a lot of what it tries to do right. I think there is quite a few missteps that it takes, but a lot of elements in that movie work really well now with some time and distance. And now that we're not smack bang in the middle of the Iraq War, we're actually about 15 years removed. We can have some perspective, some nuance around this discussion of, well, you know, the US lied. They lied about what they found, and that's no longer a political issue. That's just fact.
Yeah.
So I think Paul Greengrass, that is definitely a movie that was too ahead of its time. It just came out too soon. I think if that movie ironically came out in 2016, I think it actually would have done very, very well, better than Jason Bourne would have. Like, I think if that was the Jason Bourne movie that came out then, would have done a lot better.
For sure.
But so they're my 3.
Well, nobody brought up She's Out of My League, so I'm about to rage quit. To be honest with you. I mean, I think it's really, really rare that a comedy can stand the test of time 10 years later.
Absolutely.
And She's Out of My League does it pretty flawlessly,
does.
to be honest
For a
with
film
you.
that's premise could have been problematic, to be like, oh, we're looking at a woman because of her looks and blah blah blah. You're like, nope, we're not. So yeah,
The whole premise is handled really well. The cast is all really great.
Yeah.
The humor just works, and it's not malicious, and it's not just punching down to punch down on people.
yeah.
And it's just a cute story too. At the end of the day.
And you buy it.
Yeah.
You
for
absolutely buy those two people together, even though society wants you to think it's like he'd never get her and she'd never settle for him. You'd watch it and you go, no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But it's I'm a little skeptical that, you know, a lot of comedies that we're probably going to watch over the next couple of years are going to hold up as well.
Yeah.
So
There's a few that I have hope for. There's a lot that I'm like, oh, I know that's not going to, because you didn't really hold up 10 years ago, and now we're watching you again.
I think it'll be a lot of the star vehicles for certain comedians who are like, we'll just give you a movie because of you. I think those will be the ones that were like, oh, this wasn't a good choice then, and it's now.
Yeah, I think I'm more thinking stuff like 21 Jump Street. Like, that still holds up pretty well. Like the ones that were smartly written.
But those are the exceptions.
Oh,
those aren't the rule.
No,
That's,
yes.
We're in for some hard times, boys.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
we're going to be getting stuff like Tammy and Identity Thief and what else are we getting?
I've seen both of those movies.
Anyone else have any that we've missed out on other than She's Out of My League that they really want to bring up?
I'd like to bring actually one that I would kind of like to bring up that I didn't love, but I thought was a really enjoyable film for what we did. I mean, I can't believe this is in my top 10, but that's The Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, again, I think that's more indicative of where we are this year so far.
I think that's mostly,
But Ghost Rider wasn't bad.
No, it wasn't bad.
The story was great and the acting was great. It's just the script was written like it was a novel.
Yeah. It was, that's it. It was like the ripping it apart for the weird dialogue choices. But other than that, it's like, it's super interesting. And like,
Didn't that birth the ass boy joke?
I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah. So, you know, silver linings.
Again,
right.
Nick remembers the ass.
We still got a whole half year go to Pete. Who knows what's going to happen?
All right. So real quick, some let's just do maybe one each that we can talk about some of the ones that we get to pick one each where we weren't.
Worst.
Yeah, that we kind of go,
Just
man.
one.
Yeah, I'm gonna just well, I don't love
Shitting on things,
shitting
all the
on
time.
movies all the time. So
They do it so easily themselves.
So let's just go around and we can talk. We'll just grab one each. So Nick, I'll start with you. Grab one movie.
Fuck Remember Me. Fuck that movie. It's fucking shit. It's awful. It's boring, and it uses 9/11 in a fucking awful way. Fuck that movie. I still hate it.
What's interesting is we're all kind of like, it was not bad. Like I'm still kind of
there's
on
one
like,
good scene in that movie, and it's when what's his name? Pierce Brosnan tells Robert Hudson fuck off, and I was like, and that's good acting, and that's it. I genuinely like, and I totally get that people can still see the good moment or like the thing that they're trying to make, but even right from that opening scene of the subway shooting, I was like, this is all being told in a weird way that I don't like, and fuck this movie. I love Fairy Vengeance, though. Unironically.
Peter.
There are so many to choose from. And a lot of them are comedies and family films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just...
What's the first one that comes to mind? Right now.
The first one that comes to mind would be Marmaduke.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
mean,
That's very fair.
I know that Sex and the City 2 made me angry, but Marmaduke, I was kind of like, at least Sex and the City 2 gave me something to talk about.
Yeah.
Marmaduke
true.
was just
Marmaduke was damn near impossible
Boring.
for us to talk about.
this boring piece of shit that was
wow.
inexplicable.
Yeah.
There are many, many other movies that I have on my list, but we're choosing one, so Marmaduke, Sex and the City 2, and a lot of other ones as well.
All right, so what would be
You're
your
right. There's
one?
so many
there's
that you
too
could
many.
really just call out, but I'm gonna go with Why Did I Get Married Too?
Oh, yeah.
Because not only are all of the relationships portrayed in that movie just terrible,
Horrible.
but also it takes a really, really dramatic turn halfway through the movie that if you're not prepared for, that could legitimately be a traumatic movie experience for you.
yeah.
because
triggering.
because this is supposed to be a comedy,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden you get that scene,
Yeah.
and it's just like, what the fuck?
And it's an intense. Tyler Perry has made that scene purposefully, incredibly, dramatically intense in no context that fits with the rest of the movie. So it's so jarring and disturbing.
And it has the best ending to a movie I've ever seen.
Oh.
They take the total just cop out way where they kill the guy in
That's right.
a car accident.
Oh,
They're like, oh, he died. Oh, so that resolves all your marital issues because he's dead. And then the best second ending ever, where your boy shows up.
How good.
DJ, what are you doing, mate? I love you, but you've made 2010 was not
And then
I'm so glad you make things up to me.
could you see The Rock on the cover, and it's called Why Did I Get Married, and instead of an E in married, it's a 3? Would you watch that?
Yeah, if The Rock's in it, yeah, I'll watch it.
So Tyler Perry, I just wrote you a fucking third movie in that.
And it's also for that movie. It's and it feels like such a disservice because Janet Jackson's acting in that is incredible.
Raw. Very
It's
raw.
I mean we know
We
probably
know
it's
why.
raw. But it's just so it's that when that scene happened, it was all just as you said, for a movie that's a comedy, which it was already pushing is this really a comedy? I don't think. And then that happens, and you're like, I have no idea anymore. And then you ruined The Rock for me, Tyler Perry, briefly, but still.
What about you?
So
What are you going to contribute to this lovely pile that we've started?
Okay,
Does
so
it rhyme with
this
Lillas?
is no, it's not that. It's okay. So
Now a Pamela Fetting.
So Cop Out is the worst movie I've seen so far this year. It is still my worst.
No.
It's about to throw some hands.
It's still the movie, but the movie where I literally was not what I was literally doing something else, and someone on screen said something, and I dropped what I was doing and looked at the TV and went, "I'm sorry, what?" And that was Our Family Wedding.
Yeah.
I hated Our Family Wedding. It is
yeah.
one
What
of
was
the
that one?
worst
What a
movies
movie.
I have seen all year.
It's terrible. What was the line?
It was during the dinner. Like, it was more during... It was when the dinner...
that wacky dinner.
Yeah, when the dinner first happened, and I just turned away and went, "I'm sorry, what?" And I just hated that movie with a passion.
Yeah.
And like, Grown Ups is probably a worse movie to watch.
It's definitely
probably,
a worse movie to watch.
Worst movie to watch.
Yeah.
It's probably more homophobic. Well, definitely more homophobic. It's definitely more racist.
I mean,
definitely,
I don't know. They're pretty tied for their
yeah,
racism
like-
issues, to be honest
Which is
with
funny
you.
for a movie that you're just like, oh, it's got all like, you know, African American cast, and you sort of think, oh, this will be maybe a little bit like progressive, and you're like, nah, it's just
Nope,
as bad.
it's just as bad.
whereas
And they ruined Tay Diggs. Like, here's a beautiful, beautiful specimen of a man, and you put him in that. What is going on with casting directors hating beautiful bald men? Oh,
But yeah,
a fair point.
this movie just is one that I will not forget anytime soon, just because I was just so unprepared. At least Grown Ups, I was somewhat prepared for how
Yeah.
bad it would be. Whereas in
Nothing can prepare you for how bad Grown Ups is.
Our Family Wedding, I wasn't prepared for that movie at all. And just to sit, like, yeah, I can't believe that we're in a year, though, where, you know, we're talking worst films, and I can't even put Alice in Wonderland in the top 10 at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even it's nowhere near my top 10 this year. Like, there have been a lot worse this year. I'm genuinely terrified about Last Airbender might not make this top 10. And that's been one of my worst movies of the decade. Like, I hate that movie. And
you never give up hope, Jacob.
but yeah,
And then there's a lot of stuff in the middle.
there's quite a lot of stuff in the middle.
There's just a lot of stuff that's like, I don't really want to watch it again, but I didn't hate watching it, you know? I mean, there were two of them I probably actually personally liked, but that's okay.
So what just off the top of your head, what's something that you're looking forward to rewatching between now and the end of the year? Just off the top of your head, like
From the stuff that we've already watched.
no, so that we've got coming up.
Oh, coming up.
Tangled.
Tangled,
Oh, yeah.
Tangled's a big one.
Tangled.
Burlesque.
Yeah,
Yes.
Burlesque. That's
Yes.
definitely
Show
good.
me how you burlesque.
Oh my god.
They're the same weekend. They're actually the same weekend.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think so.
Stop
I
it.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes.
Nick.
The Town. Haven't seen it since it came out.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
really keen to watch Town again.
Yeah.
Are you going to go with the obvious?
Okay, so yes, there is the obvious one, but I'm not going to go with it. I'm going to go with the second most obvious one, and that is, of course, Inception.
Okay.
I'm so looking forward to rewatching Inception again for the 15th millionth time, just because we're at a
15th million.
Yeah,
You guys, let's be real. We're on the show because we're great at math.
yeah.
Like, that's why we're
Like
here.
I'm really looking forward to rewatching Inception again.
Yeah.
Like especially with the new setup and all that. Like
I mean,
really,
I did buy Inception on 4K to be like, I know that I need to rewatch this, so I might.
And I
as well.
mean, fingers crossed Australia gets the
I
cinematic
hope we
re-release.
do. I really hope we do.
Do you know how many times I've seen Inception? One.
Oh,
Really?
Oh,
One
that'd be a
time.
good rewatch
And that
then,
was
yeah.
probably like 10 years ago.
That'd be good then.
Yeah.
That'll be a good.
That would be
rewatch,
interesting.
I really love it, and I think it's a fantastic movie.
Part, like, it'd be hilarious if you were just like, this movie's fucking dog shit, and you just be like, and fight. Ding, ding, ding.
Peter and I will wait
I'm like
outside.
sitting over there next week.
But guys, that's just our bonus mid-year review. We just wanted to
Yeah.
really like go through just stuff that really has stood out for us so far this year that we've really really loved, and then
For better and for worse.
yes,
I
So-
mean, yeah. There's this. When I looked at what was good and what was bad, I was like, fuck, we watched.
we watched some
We
shit.
watched some shit. And you sort of just like, you look at it and you just like go, Spy Next Door, that was bad. But then you go, oh, but this was so much worse. And you're like, oh my God. Like,
I remember after Spy Next Door, I went, this will make my top 10. It's already out.
Yeah,
We're not even
me too.
halfway through
like,
the year.
like January when it was like Spy Next Door, Leap Year, Legion, you were like, these movies, like, they're not great. Like, surely nothing will, like, we kind of like,
We're only
too much
going
worse.
to be going up from there.
You know?
Oh.
And then you'd be like, wait,
man.
Jonah Hex is just waiting in the background.
I have only one January film in my bottom 10 so far.
Which is?
Legion. That's the
Wow.
Really?
my only bottom.
Mine's not that
That's
low.
a shock.
Well,
Yeah.
like-
That's like a. That's
Do you
like
know what's
middle
still?
to end.
Do you know what's still in my bottom 10? Fucking Youth and Revolt. That piece of
my
shit.
Oh, sorry, no, yes, sorry, Youth and
Yeah,
Revolt
Youth
is
and
Like,
on mine
fuck
as well,
that
yeah.
movie.
Like, I had forgotten we watched it, but then I looked over what I watched and I was like, that's right, I fucking hate this one. But I was like, it's just, it just didn't stick out. Like, I mean, it's terrible.
Oh, God,
But, like,
yeah.
when I thought of worst movies, I was like, no, these ones are, like, worse just because of the physical reaction I had to
I'll
them.
never forget about Youth and Revolt, but
But-
just because it was one of the first ones, and I went, this is what we're fucking in for all year with this
Yeah.
stupid show.
And also, it was such a hard movie to find.
Yes, that was the other
So I
thing.
was like, oh, we not only are we searching, and then we have to fucking pay for it. Something that we didn't do 10 years ago.
Oh, God.
Again, these guys really love the stuff that I put them through. Well, guys,
I mean, and I haven't said it yet. I started to top the show with one of my favorite movie experiences, and that was genuinely Furry Vengeance. Like, I watched that movie with all expectation of it being another shit kids film, and I walked away a changed man.
Your first expectation was correct.
But that's what I mean. Like, I think there's a point in watching bad movies when you can actually enjoy watching something bad because, again, I'm just so enamored by the fact that how did this get made? Why did certain people join in this film? And who was behind that incredible remix of Insane in the Membrane? And I still think about that every day. So, Furry Vengeance would be like a bottom 10 movie, no doubt. But fuck. I loved watching that movie, and I actually
gave it an extra. I gave it an extra half star the other day when I was going through my list and I was thinking about it because it was on a half star, and I was like, no,
jump up to that one.
It got one because there is that element of I had fun watching
It's
it.
just so
of just
fun.
how bad it was. So
different to something like Grown Ups, which is not fun to watch.
No.
Equally terrible, but not fun to watch.
yeah, you can't laugh at the stupidity and just awfulness of it. And I think Taylor is ready to murder me. So with that, we may call this episode quits. Guys, thank you so much for checking out this bonus episode of 10 Years On. Again, coming up in just a few days, you're going to hear us being very, very intoxicated and watching Twilight Saga Eclipse and M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender. And then check out on Thursday the episode of 10 Years On where we talk about those movies while very, very hungover.
How great is it going to be trying to pronounce M. Night Shyamalan when we're just like plastered like M. Night Shyamalan?
Be like my boy M. Night.
Yeah, that's how it's going to be.
That's exactly how that's gonna
Give me
be.
some MNS.
Guys, until then, my name is Jacob Blunden. You can find all of the links for all of our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and movie reviews down in the description below. And until then, we shall see you next time.